All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Hello,
we are
everybody.
live. We are live. Hello, the Rob Drew.
Hello, the Rich Drew.
Hopefully, our audio levels are acceptable
Check,
because we
check,
know
check.
the video
Mic
is
check,
nothing
mic
but
check.
goodness.
1, 2, 1, 2.
It's been a long time here.
It's been a bit since we were live.
I don't know. Oh, there we go. 12 people. 12 people are joining us here on a Thursday, the eve before New Year's Eve. You got any big plans for tomorrow, buddy?
I don't. I plan to lay low and not get killed by any amateurs.
Living that fast and crazy loose life, huh?
As you know, I don't drink, so
Yes.
there's really nothing for me out there.
Nothing for you on New Year's Eve. What's the latest in your world?
Well, I had been dialing on all the big bikes for the Rich Drew, Rob Drew big bike shootout, but now
Wah wah.
I'll just be riding my bikes.
Okay, so let's.
We've had some rain though out here, so it's been interrupting my riding schedule.
We're just postponing the big bike shootout. So for those who are
Whatever,
not aware, I was
whatever,
supposed to
man.
leave. I was supposed to leave early Sunday morning to go out for a week and ride and do a big bike shootout with Rob. But
Wait, no. Initially, you were supposed to leave when? This will be the second reschedule.
a couple days ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, dude, it's a lot of traveling. Just need to hang out and chill with my family. This time, well, not even unfortunately. I'm not going to say
I've got a guest star. I've got a guest star on my end.
Stasher. I've just got a lot of work, dude. Like business does not slow down, unfortunately. And
everybody, this is Dash.
Hi, Dash.
I don't know
So
if she's
dialing
on
in
the keyboard.
Dialing in the big bikes. What do you want to talk a little bit about? Any of those bikes?
Sure, we can.
Which one you want to talk about?
Well, I don't want to spill the beans, so to speak.
Okay, we don't have to do that. Let's do this.
Well, let's talk about the Z Road.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll talk a little bit about the Z Road.
I think the Z Road is going to honestly be the bike that you are most surprised by.
Okay, so break that down because I don't know that everybody even knows what the heck a Z Road is.
So Z Road is a company out of New Zealand, Auckland, I believe, and they built a couple of models around the pinion gearbox, which is manufactured in Germany, and they have several options, I think, from like 7-speed to 12-speed. And what's pretty amazing about it is the 9-speed, which I have on my bike, has a range of 645%, which is a pretty decent bit greater than Eagle with 52 tooth. So as far as coverage when you're riding it, it works out pretty well. And the other thing that's neat about it is the distance, or I should say the percentage change between every single gear is identical. So when you change, if you ever thought about when you're changing gears on your regular bike, it might be they're close, and then suddenly there's a huge jump.
Yeah. Which bike do you have? Is it the Taniwa?
No, I have the Catapo. It's a 29er. You can actually run it 140, 160, or I've got it 160, 170. You basically just do a shock with less travel on the rear, and that gets you a shorter travel bike if that's the way you want to go. But I am very happy with the way that I chose to build mine, which was 160 in the rear.
Okay, so what I'm going to try to do
Put a picture of it up.
This share screen.
Yeah, so you and I worked with, what was it, 2019, we were doing clinics in conjunction with Big Mountain Enduro. And at Winter Park, we worked with a gentleman who was riding a Z Road. And I had heard about them, but that was the first time I ever saw one in person. And we went out and rode with the guy on the trails. And so I got to see the bike work. That's it there.
We got it? Look at that, dude. We got it.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So if you take a look at it, and you can get this bike set up as a chain drive or belt. I have the belt, so it runs a Gates belt. So it's got 39 tooth pulleys front and rear with a nice spring-loaded idler. And so you have nothing on the back of the bike, no derailleur, nothing. The belt drive is completely silent, nothing slapping around when you're descending. And it's just such an amazing sensation going down hills on the bike.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah,
It looks really cool.
It's a great looking bike. Like the fundamentals of the bike are fantastic. The reach is good. The head angle, it's slack. It's 64 degrees, but it's got a fairly steep seat tube. Yeah, it has all the right stuff to do what it needs to do and do it well. And yeah, every time I ride it, I'm just tremendously impressed. I took it to Angel Fire and rode it there, and it was awesome. And then I intended to race it at Pajarito, but I broke the back wheel shorting a very gnarly rock face double, and ended up having to race the trail up there.
So that's kind of a downside potentially, is that unique hub spacing.
Correct. So when I broke the wheel, the rear hub spacing is 142 single speed. So thankfully, Industry 9 makes a hub to fit it. But if you break a wheel, it's unlikely that you're going to come across somebody who's got a spare wheel. It's just not likely. But I now have a spare wheel for it, so
nice.
I'm not messing around anymore. Yeah, I went to a grade on the rear, grade 315 on the rear, so stronger with thicker spokes, and got another spare wheel just in case.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that, dude. Yeah, I'm excited to give that one a run when I get back out there. What else do you have? So just so everybody knows, the big bike shootout, what is that going to be?
As it stands right now, we're talking about the Z Road, the Propane Tyee, the Niner WFO, RDO, and the Pivot Firebird.
Okay. That's pretty solid.
All are very solid bikes. Obviously the Z Road is a bit of a paradigm shift because of the transmission and the grip shift.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I did some research about it, one of the things a lot of people complained about was, because it's a gearbox, you cannot be pedaling when you shift. If you're pedaling, it just won't change gears. And so it's got a pull cable shifter. And if you try to force a shift against, you're against the gears when you're pedaling, you'll just break the cables. But once you adjust to it, so it's funny, when I read that people were upset because you couldn't pedal when you shift, I thought to myself, so that means you don't have to pedal to shift. Because if you've ever experienced, let's say you're coming down a steep descent and all of a sudden you come across a punchy climb and you don't have enough room to pedal to get the bike to shift 3 or 4 gears. Well, with the Z Road, without pedaling a stroke, you can take it from 1 to 9. And as soon as you start to pedal, you're in the new gear. So in a track stand, you can shift the whole range. And to me, I think it's proven to be a fantastic asset. The problem is, when you jump on a regular bike, you find yourself, thumb shifting and expecting when you start pedaling, it's going to be in the other gear, and it's not. Yeah. So it's just different. And so that's something very unique about it. And if it were my only bike, it would be much easier, because I would just ride it and I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. Paul says, thank you for this. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Happy Paul. You're very welcome. Let's segue into the 7 common turning mistakes. And this is going to be an interesting segue, because we're just going to let this develop. And what I think people are assuming is that we're going to talk about the 7 common mistakes. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the video. And what was your take on the video?
My take on the video? Well, it was a little too much comedy for my taste, but it was a serious guy.
Yeah, it was way too much comedy for your taste. That's kind of what I want to talk about. Is
a little shticky for me, but you do you, baby.
Well, and again,
if the fans like it, what do I matter?
who knows if they like it, but that's what's so great about what I do and why I do it. It's not necessarily driven by them liking it. And I think that's the difference. Like behind the scenes, that was such a frustrating weekend. Nothing was working out like we planned. We had video initiatives that we couldn't film for one reason or another. And literally we had, at that moment, we were there and I had to come up with, what are we going to do? And that's what we came up with.
We're going to dance.
The light was going down and, you know, I wear what I dig, bro. I do what I feel. And
hey, real quick, not to take away from your storyline, but I see a comment there about I wanted a Z-Road, but at 5'0", no fit. I just wanted to backtrack and touch on that real quick. So this bike is only available in 2 sizes. And the smaller of the 2 has a 475 reach. That's the one that I ride, and it's the biggest bike I own. Wow. So if you're smaller than that, I think the Tanawa is a smaller bike that will fit you better. But they don't have a huge size range, and I think part of the reason for that is because the proportions of the bike work at these sizes, and so rather than try to shrink the bike to fit a smaller person and not have it perform the same, they decided just to stick with these sizes. Anyway, so that is a valid point. Yeah,
great point. Now back to what I was saying earlier.
Back to you. Sorry about that.
No, not back to me. Back to YouTube in general. I appreciate the input because we've talked about this many times. I don't call myself a YouTuber. You joke and say, "Oh no, you are a YouTuber."
You're a YouTuber, dude.
I don't
have to call yourself to be one.
Well, it's just
a-holes don't call themselves a-holes, but
there's a couple different ways to go about it. Somebody sent me a video recently about like an exorbitant number of jumping mistakes, and I saw who it was from, and I just said, "Nah, I'm good. I don't need to watch that. Like, I don't appreciate that person. I don't appreciate their shtick. I don't appreciate how vulgar they are. They came here a couple years ago to Bentonville, and I toured them around. They were pretty rude. The person he had with him.
Sounds like Bobo.
I'm not saying who it is. But I don't dig that stuff. Like, I don't dig that stuff. And
I don't dig that stuff, jerky.
The stuff I do is on my terms. Well, what I want to get into is how you said earlier, why you don't necessarily make videos. And I just think that's an important thing because it makes sense. Like you don't have the time, and to carve out time in your schedule to make a video that has no guarantee of any return is troubling to you. And I get it. And I think that is an important thing.
Well, I have information that I really want to share.
I have information that I want you to share. There's people that want you to share that information.
Yeah, it's just that my biggest problem is I get a lot of benefit from riding my bike, physical benefit, emotional benefit. And so when I have time to ride my bike, riding my bike is what I want to do. And it's difficult to stop and set up shots and it's a lot of work to make a video. You know that. You do it all the time. It's a lot of work.
I know.
And it's just hard for me to displace my enjoyment with more work because I have a job and I work hard. It's a lot of work.
Do you glean any enjoyment out of the videos that we make?
Yes, I do. But I miss the days of the Phoenix training camp when you would come out here and we would just go ride. We would go ride, and it wasn't a big deal. It was us riding bikes.
Yeah.
And it's not like that anymore. I mean, it's every day on the bike is a video idea and a concept, and that's discouraging.
No, I know, and I think we need to find a balance. And it's funny because when I was talking to Sarah about coming out there and what was going to happen, and that came up, and it's stuff like this, you know. Chris is on all the time. Chris, by all accounts, a great dude. And he found the tip on lower hand down and turning, such a simple tip that worked well. Dude, the amount of times I've heard that, like literally over 100 since that first came out. And it's just that little thing that's made a big difference in so many people's riding. Tony, your videos are very important. I think we need to find a way to strike that balance for you, because those comments are why I keep putting the work in to do it. The enjoyment you get, dude, magnify that 10, 100, 1,000-fold. When you give some of that insight to other people, you're helping them maximize that level of enjoyment that you have.
Well, and I try to put a lot of time in locally. Just this afternoon, I went for a ride. I ran into Kyle Anderson, and he's got a lyric on his Transition Sentinel. And I had heard him say before that he didn't like the fork. He couldn't get it working. And so he came off national, and I said, "How was your ride?" And he's like, "Man, I'm struggling with this fork." And I mean, it's a lyric. There's nothing to struggle with. So I said, "Well, let me take a look at it." And so I checked his settings, and he had like 16 clicks of low speed compression and like 6 clicks of high speed compression, 18 clicks of rebound. And I was like, man. And so I didn't put it to my settings, but I changed it drastically. And then I had him follow me down Javelina, and he said it was working much better, which of course it would.
Yeah.
And so we spent a little time talking about what its intended, what its purpose is, and how to go about recognizing when you need an adjustment and what adjustment you need. And it would have been great if there were, 100 people who could have been viewing that, or if there was a fly on the wall camera that could capture the whole thing, but that's just never the case.
Oh, no, that stuff's never there. So, yeah, Josh, I remember when he said this, he talked about, you guys are moto guys, so I put a little bit more weight into what you say. I think this is a road that we can go down. We can go down a ton, and we're not going to do that. But I just think finding a way to balance it, and some of the initiatives we set up next year, we're going to do that, where it's just you and I riding more like we did at Noble Canyon and having fun. And I think that piece is important.
And it'd be great if we had a third person. If we had a third person who could be rolling the camera, like the times when Andy's there is a perfect example. Yeah. So long as Andy doesn't want to take his own bike out and tomahawk himself.
I hope Andy's not on here right now.
I love Andy, and I know how tough it is when we're somewhere cool, and he's got the responsibility of running the camera, and he just wants to go rip.
So it's funny because Shane said, "I like the real Eds," and I was like, "What? I don't know the Eds. Who are the Eds?" But I think he said realness. Shane, bro, you're getting nothing but realness here, I think, for good or bad. And that's just what this comes back to is I'm real. Rob sure as hell's real. And I think that's a pretty important piece of this. And, we both have lives. My family, Sarah and Dex, are sitting on the couch watching a movie right now. I'd love to be there, but I appreciate the fact that we can put these faces on this and 61 people want to listen. And what's cool is a lot of them are the same people. And that sort of thing, that resonates with me.
Yeah, so, guys like Chris who tune in all the time. I appreciate that.
Jared,
of course. And the middle-aged masher's been tuning in quite a bit.
I know, dude. And you didn't hear what I said? He's
a great supporter.
Look at him. I had to make videos after Nasty Divorce. The guy I paid to talk to said I was going to upload if I didn't release the energy.
Yeah, well, now he started a new channel playing guitar. I don't know if he's any good at playing guitar, but I think the concept is going to be to chronicle the journey.
So this is a good one too. Bike Song says, always good to hear positive feedback. It is good to hear positive feedback, but one of the things Rob and I have talked about and that I've learned very quickly is you need to be ready to just laugh at negative feedback. And I think that piece of it is something that can make YouTube difficult. And it's different for me because I don't make a living on YouTube, and I'm very confident in who I am, especially as a rider. Like, my take on it is, if anybody's commenting because they watch my video, there's not a chance they're a better rider than me. they're a better rider than me, they'd have no business watching any video I make. And I may be taking liberties with that statement, but that's fine. And it's just, there's so many people that have so many
Maybe they're
differing
just there
opinions.
for the comic relief.
Oh,
The
if they have
dance,
the
maybe
time.
they're trying to pick up some dance moves. You never know.
Oh, that's for real. The dance how-tos are coming next.
That's your other channel?
That's the other channel.
Ricky
Dicky
Disco.
dances. Dicky Disco. Yeah. In
Disco
practice.
with Dick.
So yeah, Pat, I've been seeing Pat a lot, man. The instructions are really easy to put into practice. That's the point. Like, that's the point, man, is there's so many people now that are looking for instruction and they don't have a whole lot of time. And it's not rocket science, dude. It's riding a bike. And if you have experience, and we have a decent amount of experience, and you can help people and you can convey the how and the why, I think you do it. And I think that comes back to the piece that's so important about you playing a role is like bike reviews. Dude, I'm not the guy to do bike reviews. I'm okay saying that. I can ride well, and I can probably talk about sizing and what I like, and I'll ride the holy hell out of the bike so you won't question, is the bike capable? But I'm not the one to give insight on kinematics and engineering and why things work and don't work and all that stuff. That's not me, dude. And that's what I got so troubled with when I started looking at bike reviews. Dude, there's so many people out there that have no business talking about how a bike works and doesn't work and what they like and what they don't like. And I again, you want to be real? I'll be real. Like, if you're a bad rider, and that's not an opinion, there's an empirical chart. Who are you to talk about how good or bad a bike is?
Well,
like, that drives me crazy.
One of the things that frustrates me, I was going back watching more reviews about the Pivot Firebird, and it's always this former pro enduro rider, and I'm thinking to myself, so this guy's a pro enduro rider, but he doesn't have his own suspension settings. He's going to complain about the settings that Pivot gave him. Why would he even bother with those? He should know his own settings.
Yeah.
He should grab the bike and put his settings in and go ride it. And then that eliminates that. I'm not going to take anybody's word for how I should set my bike up. I know how I want it, and I know how it needs to be. And I can adjust from that barometer if I need something different out of the bike. If the platform makes if you're talking about an X2 on a vertical shot configuration, or on a straight, like the old, or like a Specialized, or like the old Firebird, it's going to perform differently. So you might need to make some minor adjustments, but the basic setup is going to be what the basic setup's going to be.
Yeah. And you can have your opinion on what you like, but you don't necessarily have you don't get your opinion on the outcome of certain changes. Like, does that make sense? Like, if you do certain things with the suspension, there's going to be certain outcomes.
Well, it's
whether
just
you
funny
like
to me
it or
when
not.
it's like, they recommended that we run 18 clicks of rebound compression, and the bike just didn't perform well. It's like, you think? Imagine that.
And that's the kind of thing right there that baffles me, dude. Like, if you're in a position, like if you claim to be a former pro enduro rider, how could you make such a ludicrous statement?
Yeah. So you make one run on the bike and you go, okay, these things are not right. We've got to make some changes. But to go on camera and criticize the bike without even having your own baseline just blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. I'm trying to get.
Well, and it's funny for me, you and I, last time you were out here, we talked about how, like, I don't know if you remember what my one number is.
Yeah.
Regardless of the bike, there's one number that I focus on, and that's the measurement from the tip of the seat with the saddle up to the center of the handlebars. And if you go in my garage, I have mediums, larges, all different size reach bikes. But if you put the saddle up and you measure from the tip of the saddle to the center of the handlebars, it will be 20 inches desirably, or no more than a half inch from that. So every bike I get on, the cockpit feel is very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. As an old golf instructor, it comes down to it. Everything is different for everyone, and for good reason. Yeah. We talk a lot about technique, and I would imagine golf's similar. And you're looking for an outcome. Like you're looking to drive the ball as straight and as far as you can with a driver. How you get there, I mean, there's ways, there's best practices to do it, but like the perfect golf swing, I would imagine is perfect for that person. You know, if you have two Tiger Woods, but one of them has been completely broken, you got to work around that.
Well, and I've seen guys with one arm. I've seen guys with one arm that can drive the shit out of the ball because they don't rely on the power of two arms. They rely on making the most of what they have, and you know.
Dude, I was proud.
What is it? Club speed? That's the ticket. Club speed.
Head speed.
Head speed.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, whatever. Just hit the freaking ball.
Just hit the freaking ball. Look at this, Paul. He's watching us from Melbourne. G'day, mate. From Australia. I love it. When you ride,
watch out for those burly kangaroos.
I know.
Did you see that video where that guy punched that kangaroo? Like the kangaroo had his dog in a chokehold. This kangaroo was yoked. Had the guy's dog in a chokehold, and he ran up, and the kangaroo let the dog go and like stood up, and the guy's like this, and he goes, and he punched the kangaroo in the face, and the kangaroo turned around and ran away.
I got to see that.
Hilarious. Yeah, you got to see it.
That's great. I like this. Chris talks about how many times he's rewatched the climbing video at South Mountain.
Chris.
Loves it.
I
Dude,
really
me too.
love that video. That was a perfect example of a time when we both just put cameras on and let them roll, and we went out.
No, dude. He's talking about the one with Brock. Brock, I think it's got to be the one he's talking about. Remember, Brock made that one. Come on, dude. That was close to this.
That was
close. That was really fun.
That was the one just before Sedona.
Yes. I think you were on a Firebird.
We had all three bikes. Remember, we had the trail.
That's right, dude. We
had the
trail,
the Firebird, and the Switchblade.
The new Switchblade. Yep. Yeah, dude. That was so fun. And that's a prime example of we set out to go showcase certain parts of the trail and talk about the nuance of climbing those parts. And that's great because, dude, it was in the moment. It was real. We were doing it. Yeah, that was a rad video. Skip, I hope you never stop making videos. I'm a better rider today because I've watched your videos. Boom. Skip.
It's pretty good, Skip. Thanks, dude.
The plan is to not stop making the videos.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. It's just a matter of fitting them into the schedule and just honestly getting funding. We talk about Andy and Brock. Those are the two main camera operators and editors that make the content. They're professional dudes. They don't work for free. And anybody who's on here watching, and I know there's a couple of you that are on YouTube that are making videos, you understand that.
It's a lot of work.
I don't have any good cameras. I have GoPros. I don't have editing.
I don't have a Brock or an Andy.
No. And that makes it difficult. And
I got this $4,000 computer I bought to do my edits.
Yeah, you got a damn expensive computer.
I haven't had the time to learn how.
I want to keep making videos, and we have initiatives outlined, and I am trying to push those initiatives through with specific companies and get the funding to make the videos. And it's a lot of work. That's aside from making the videos. Like managing it, making it happen, putting it together is a lot of work before we even get to make the videos.
Yeah, separating companies from their funding is a full-time job, and we haven't even seen one.
Yeah, and so that piece of it is challenging, but we've gotten the feedback. Certain companies have gotten the feedback, and I don't think it's a question of is it worth it? It's a matter of how much money is there to invest and how best do we make use of those things. And I don't pretend to know the answers to all those things. I know what I can do. I can coach people. Rob can coach people. And I think we can coach them better in person than we can in videos, but the videos allow us to reach some more people. And if simple inputs like guide with the inside hand and balance on that outside foot, if that can make a difference in people's riding, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And it's also part of it is navigating the optics around that. Like I'm on a lot of Fazzaris. I'm on a lot of Specialized. That's because they see the value in that and they want to support us making those videos. And so as long as that stuff doesn't muddy up people's opinions of the videos, I think we're all good. And I think we've done a good job, or at least I've tried to do a good job with that. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. And I think it's been easier for me because I come in with the mindset that all bikes are good and you should just ride a bike. Like if you can get a bike that's better, great. You you get a bike that's better. That's great.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point. Obviously, the brand agnostic approach has proven to be tremendously valuable because it doesn't pigeonhole you to one brand, and it opens you up to try different things and showcase different things. And there's a lot of different companies making a lot of good stuff. So I can tell you, from my perspective, this past year, getting the opportunity to just ride whatever I felt like. Whatever I felt like, I would look up, do some research on the internet. Oh, that bike looks cool. I'm going to buy one. Jump online, buy it, and get it, build it how I want, ride it. And what's been cool is almost every bike I've had, I've really enjoyed a ton. And some are obviously more conducive to my riding style than others, but they've all been great bikes.
Yeah, it's funny that when you talk about most of these guys don't know how to set up a bike. When you make that statement, that's a loaded one because your bike setup, and I mean, I come back to you.
I said the exact same thing. I said the exact same thing to Kyle today. I said, I'm not going to set your bike up like me because you're not me, but I can tell you how you had it is not good for you. Yeah, I mean, he goes fast. He's a fast rider. You can't choke a suspension down with Rebound and expect that it's gonna be there for you, in successive choppy terrain.
Yep,
it's gonna buck you off.
Yeah, it's gonna spat you
over the bars.
Yeah, bike setup it's an interesting thing, and I've fallen into that trap. But generally speaking, I'm not great at bike setup, and I'm okay to admit that. I think I'm a bit of an outlier because whatever, dude, I'll ride it. It's fine. I'll make it work. But I've gleaned a lot of insight from you in regards to small changes that have fairly big impacts. And what I've tried to do is not settle into a certain comfort level on a bike, like be a little bit more discerning about what it's doing and what inputs I can make to have it work a little bit better. I don't let that overtake the fun that I'm having, but I think about that, and I try to acquire a bit more data on my rides that I can download to you and hopefully get some more insight. And I don't know if many people do that. And there's no better evidence, in my opinion, than that damn Cascade link. One person says it's great, everybody gets it, and away they go. Well, and I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, we've talked about the fact that like suspension tuning, if you want to get an ideal setup, you need to do some testing, and it's work. It's not fun riding, it's work. And so if you don't invest the time, you're not going to have the best setup. And when I've literally never met somebody, when we talk about the pedals at clinics, I've never met anybody who spent a minute of time practicing how to escape their pedals to be better at using to get the benefit of leveraging clipped-in pedals. Why would I expect that they would spend 5 minutes testing their suspension? They're just not going to do it. They're going to go out and ride the bike, and they're going to complain that it's junk, and then on they go. And that's unfortunate because the experience can be so much better.
So, read this.
Yeah.
So
for a hard charger, it's great. No, it's not. It's not. I consider myself a hard charger. That product was terrible, dude. It ruined a fantastic bike. And I just can't think of a circumstance. I don't think a company is going to make that kind of a change to any bike and not do the same thing everywhere. And this is one of those circumstances. Maybe there's a rider out there who thinks, oh, hey, this is a brilliant idea. Whatever. There's guys who ride with their handlebars upside down, with their levers sticking up in the air. That's fine. But, when you're in business, it's important to realize that you're not your customer. And so maybe what you like, they won't like. That's all I know. I was sold on that product. It was a beautiful product. Everything I read about it when I did my research said it was fantastic. It made your wildest dreams come true. And I put it on a bike I loved, and then I no longer wanted to ride the bike. And initially, that's what I just parked the bike and went and rode other bikes and was like, man, I guess I don't like this bike. And then when I came back and re-examined it, I discovered what the problem was. It was that part. That part ruined the bike, made it literally unrideable for me, and certainly not enjoyable. And that's not an upgrade I want to pay for.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it best. Specialized has a lot of engineering assets at their disposal.
They and that platform in particular is very, very well sorted out. It's very well proven. It's not new, and so to think that you could throw a quick piece on that would make that bike better, and Specialized hadn't already done it, is a little bit silly.
Yeah. That thing. It's interesting, kind of segueing into what makes sense and what doesn't from an engineering perspective and an actual rideability perspective versus marketing. And I know we've talked about this before, but you can't let that go. There's elements to each. Like, I don't think every company solely goes by this is what is best for the rider, and this engineering is what makes the most sense. I think marketing comes into play.
Yeah, well,
what's hot.
The customer is the same way. People will buy things that are not in their best interest because they think it's cool.
Yeah.
People will run setups that are not conducive to good outcomes because their friends tell them that's what's cool. And certainly companies are going to market to that. I get it.
So I am going to look at. Dang, dude, we only have one question. You got a question, right?
It's kind of a joke, but I'll give it to you.
Oh man, here we go.
Yeah, Red Rock Roman said. Let me find it here. He said, "Why the Ask the Guy is the best tire option for cool guys." He wants us to explain that.
Why don't you talk about the Andre Agassi, the Ask Guy tire?
The Ask Guy. So that tire was introduced with great fanfare, and I have several friends who run it and love it. I tried riding that tire. I tried it on the front. I tried it on the back. I felt that it didn't roll great, and I felt that it had a vague feeling, like mid-corner kind of. It was better on the rear for me because if I wanted the bike to rotate, it would. But on the front, it didn't feel it didn't track with the kind of conviction that the DHF does. And so if I'm gonna push a tire that doesn't roll as well, there needs to be an offsetting benefit for that work. Right now, I'm running Exo Plus front and rear on the Firebird, and it makes it harder to pedal the bike. I made the comment that it doesn't climb as good as the old one, but I never rode Exo Plus tires on the old one. So I think that I'm running DHF's front and rear Exo Plus. But there are some tremendous benefits I'm getting from the Exo Plus tires that make it worth the extra effort for me. And so I'm very content with the setup.
What are those benefits?
So on technical climbs, especially on like the granite face rock stuff, if you get out of shape and you're on an off camber rock and you accentuate the camber to the point where you would expect the bike to slip, it doesn't slip. With these tires, they hold the grip, which is very impressive.
Yeah, definitely got that advantage for very few people on the planet. Check.
Well, but I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm saying there are benefits for me that make it worth the additional effort to pedal it. I
agree. Makes perfect sense.
The other thing is when you go to a thicker casing, and I've seen a lot of people comment about this with DH casing tires, the compliance, the damping of the rubber with the thicker casing provides a much different feel. I like typically something more springy because I like a reactive bike. But the Exo Plus casings on really gnarly descents seem to be a special mixture of damped and springiness. Like they're not too damped that I don't like them, and they're not too springy to make they're not a soft enough casing to make them fragile in rugged stuff.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever known a smooth rider that ran downhill casings on a regular basis?
No.
Okay. Just throwing that one.
We've talked before about the fact that there's I think good is subjective. You disagree, but good is subjective. In other words, there are people out there who aspire to ride like guys who are committed flat pedal riders, and I don't admire that type of riding. I don't aspire to ride that way, because I think it gives something up. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
kind
when
of a
I
reach.
well,
Well,
when
not
I
a reach, but it's going to be a long time to try to explain that. So let's just go to this. Europe Built asks, am I running Rebound on the slower, faster side? My bikes are set up very fast, much like Rob's. So I generally run very little Rebound damping. What I've noticed is more recently on some bikes, I've run a little bit more. But more for me, or a lot for me, is 4 clicks of Rebound damping. 4 clicks in from all the way fast. Would that be the best way to say it?
Yeah, 4 clicks in from all the way open.
Yeah, 4 clicks in from all the way open. And that's it for the most part. And that's just how I run it. And Rob is the same way. And his rationale on why he does that makes sense. Can you give us that rationale again?
So rebound damping controls the speed at which the suspension recovers its travel after it's compressed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
To you? Okay. And so I would argue if a component on your suspension is not damaged, if it's working properly, all the way open will never be too fast. Because especially when you're riding at speed, it needs to recover quickly to be ready in the most supple zone of its travel to soak up the next bump. If you compress it deep into the travel and the rebound is slow and it doesn't have time to extend back out, in that deep portion of the travel, it's most resistant and it won't absorb the bump. It will deflect. It will dissipate the energy another way, and you won't like the outcome. So it needs to be fast recovering so that it's prepared for the next bump. And it always blows my mind when people say, this thing's so harsh. And then I check their settings, and of course it is. Of course it is. From the first bump, it literally never gets back up to where it should be because it's constantly stuck down in the travel. Look
at Jared regulating here. Like the YouTube stuff. I love it, dude. He's so on it. Like I never even would have thought about that.
Jared,
so talk about this though too. Like, yeah,
such a consummate YouTuber.
People have asked about changing rebound settings. Oh, dude, my rebound setting's different. This place, that place, that place. Do you change your rebound setting?
Here's what I will tell you. If I go from the riding I normally do to a bike park that has huge jump lines, what I'll do is I'll slow the rebound down. And the reason is not because I need slow rebound. It's because I'll be apprehensive and I'll be riding in the back seat. And so my apprehension is causing me to overload the rear, and slowing the rear end down will compensate for my lack of comfort in that circumstance. And once I get comfortable, I'll speed it back up to where it normally is, because the only reason I'm doing it is because being conscious of my apprehension, my fear, I know that I'll be back, and I know that I'll be overloading the rear, and the offsetting repercussions of that is I push the rear deeper into the travel, and then it comes back with more force. And so I can contain that force with some rebound damping. But that's me compensating for my fear.
Another thing that I think you've
talked about. And that's fine if you know that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, another thing that you've talked about is keeping your bike set up the same so you know how it works and you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then you can acclimate to that terrain.
That's the key is your bike is a tool. If you're proficient with that tool, you're going to have the best results no matter where you go. If you change it every time you go, now you're throwing a learning curve on top of terrain you're unfamiliar with, and that's an extra challenge that you probably don't need.
Yeah. So hang on, I'm going to come back again. Not great at YouTube, not great at marketing, but Pat asked about a Ride Series link. If you go to rideseriesmtb.com clinics or just Google Ride Series, it'll pop up. We are building out the schedule. We're through April, I think. So we're going to try to get everywhere we can. And so that's part of it. We'd love to have you come to a ride series clinic. Making a hard thing easier to comprehend and understand is everything. Yeah. What did Einstein say? Keep it as simple as it can be.
Jared's got a great comment up there I like.
Where?
Rob's most crucial line for me was, don't judge your bike's response to bad inputs. So it's way more dialed this year.
Where the heck is that? Where'd you see that?
It's up top of my comments page.
I don't know where it is, but that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Ooh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Rob, what do you think about this?
I have to agree. Yeah. I try to avoid his vernacular whenever I can, but yeah. I did create my own rider fit algorithm.
Don't talk about it. We have yet to debut that one. We're still working out the tweaks. Dave, this is a unique circumstance, and we're not going to harp on this one too deep because I don't have anything bad to say about Lee McCormick. The guy's an OG. I think the guy has a lot of valuable information. I think he's been around a lot. I think he has a wealth of experience. I truly do. I love how athletically he is. I love how much stock he puts in being in the gym. And as a workout, the rip row, the thing's kind of gnarly, dude. Like, it can give you a great workout. And that movement on the bike, that row, anti-row, like, that makes sense. It's just not everything. And he's trying to sell those. I get it. And yeah, he kind of does create his own language. And I don't know, man. I think that's just him. I think he's saying very similar things. He may make them sound a little bit more complex, but I got nothing against that dude. I don't. Ooh, this is a good one. 2022 MTB goals for Rich and Rob. You got any of those, dude? No? You're frozen.
I haven't set my I was playing Frozen. I haven't set my goals. I have not set my goals. I think my top goal is just to ride my bikes more.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah, there's a lot of great riding spots I haven't been to that I'd like to visit. Obviously, you and I are we're dancing around the periphery of something involved with Big Mountain. And so
I can tell you right now, I'm not going to dance around that. I just don't think it's going to happen. I would love to. I mean, my MTB goals for 2022 are simple, dude. I want to get back in a decent shape, so I need to ride more. And I just want to be able to roll out of my house and go crush a 50-mile ride here and not be wrecked after. So,
well, I like the schedule BME's put together. I think they're going to go to some sick venues that I'd like to ride. And I feel like I'm riding well enough and I have good enough equipment that if I put a little work in on the fitness side, I think I could wrap myself up another championship, and that would not be bad for me. However, I have nothing to prove to anybody.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun on my bike, and I don't want to get hurt. And my injuries are still fresh in my mind. And, I'm just weighing those things. I definitely don't want to get seriously injured again.
Yeah, it's funny. I told somebody today when we were out coaching, I said, from a technicality standpoint, I don't think I've ever ridden better in my life. Like, I think I'm riding really well right now. I'm very happy.
I have to say the same thing. I would never believe that at this stage of my life, I could potentially get KOMs on very competitive trails here in Phoenix where fast dudes are riding. And I am.
Yeah.
And that just shocks me because what that means, because, I'm even just measuring against myself, forget everybody else. I'm going faster than I've ever gone before. Mm-hmm. And it makes me happy to believe that's, or to
as it should,
to face the fact that that's possible, just because,
well, it's exciting too.
I'm old, dude.
Well, and physically, are you in what you would deem to be good shape? Like, I know
I'm not
horrible shape.
Right now I'm not. I'm like 10, 15 pounds heavy and not strong. And that's, So recently, when I first started riding the Firebird, I was not able to get up the waterfall on it, and so I've actually tried to focus on some strength exercises to be stronger, because I felt like the reason I couldn't make it is strength. And I went up it yesterday, just motored up that thing.
That's funny.
Yeah,
It's
great.
amazing how much that can help.
Yeah.
Pat, we do have a suspension setup video. If you scroll through the archives, the beginning of this year, we did one with the Levo SLs, and it's pretty decent. I think we're going to do another one. Probably.
Yeah, there's a lot. We can go a lot more in depth.
Yeah, we're going to do another one where.
Well, just some of the descriptions that Micah gave us when we were in Johnson City.
Yeah.
Make it so much easier to explain to people what the settings do and what they mean.
Yep.
And how to know when to go to one versus the other.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to describe it. So we're going to do.
And it would be awesome if we could do a live with Micah on. That would be pretty valuable, I think.
Yeah, Tony's got a great point. There's a lot of good riders, but being able to teach and explain things where people can learn is pretty valuable.
That's one of the reasons why it's been so difficult for us to scale the ride series, is because there's no shortage of great riders.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are decent teachers, but maybe they're not great riders. And so there's all these components that are necessary to be effective on the level that we want to try to be effective. It limits our options.
Oh, the Panther. He's back.
Booyah.
Look at this guy. I think that's 3 lives in a row. He's throwing down the super chat. Let me tell you right now, there will not be a brotherly bench press competition, because that would be horrible for one of the brothers.
Yeah, that would be very bad for me.
Brother. But yeah, dude, I definitely we have that on the schedule to do, and we're going to do that pretty soon. Over the next couple of months, the weather's going to be a little bit bad. So we'll come up with something. I'm going to clean out my garage and paint it to make it a little bit more video friendly. And so once we do that, we will set it up. But thank you for the latte, although I feel like you need it. -40 up there in Canada.
Woo. Oh my goodness.
Dang.
-40. I would die.
Rich, what win made you think you can do this over working for Ford? Man, I don't know. And this, but I think we'll tell the whole story later on. But when I was racing professionally, and even before that, I was a product trainer for the Ford Motor Company, and it was an amazing career. I think the final straw was coming up here to Bentonville to do a private clinic for a local race team that was the best riders up here. And we were 90 minutes in, and they were just blown away by the info that we were giving them. And my thought process was, man, if we can do this for these guys at this level, imagine what we could do for everybody else.
Was that when I cartwheeled myself into a tree?
That's when Rob cartwheeled himself into the tree. So
oh, God.
For me, that was, I think, kind of the tipping point. And that's when I decided to go all in.
Yeah, I think the point where you had a decision to make was, after we'd been doing some ride series stuff around your work schedule, and you started to realize how much opportunity and demand there was for that.
Yeah. And I saw the writing on the wall then. And
I'm looking at the writing on the wall now. I'm trying to put it in reverse, and it's just, there's so many entanglements.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces.
One at a time.
Yeah, but there's a lot of pieces. Like, I could come back to a lot of different things, and man, it's hard to pinpoint it to one thing. But I'll give you one thing that's brought me here that I think is lacking nowadays, and that's something called work ethic. Like, straight up, again, we'll talk about being real, but dude, I work my ass off sometimes, and Rob's seen it.
Yeah.
And like physical with mental, like the physical exertion that we go through.
We've had some occasions where we had people helping us that by all measures
they were physically
should have been working equally hard, and they were not.
No, and that's part of it. Is it's just when you're passionate about something and you know what you want to accomplish, and you'll just look past the impediments, that's a powerful thing. And I don't know that is as prevalent now as it was years ago. Rob will agree with me on this, dude. Our dad, there aren't many harder working people on the planet.
Yeah, you want to eat, you got to work.
Yeah.
You want to eat good, you got to work hard.
Yeah.
We should do a video of the loadout. Just do a video of the loadout. This is okay. We're going to do a clinic. This is what it looks like. Yeah, this is what it looks like.
I should do that. Yeah. And that I've done it myself multiple times for small private events, and it's gnarly. Yeah. Joe asks e-bikes. Love e-bikes. Love
e-bikes. Rock. E-bikes rock.
Yeah. So how about this one? Because somebody else asked, Middle-aged Master asked about stem height and length for corners, not berms for backseat drivers. What do you think?
So we talked about bike setup as bikes get slacker and the sizing gets bigger. I always tell people, if you're anywhere near the cusp of sizing, go to the small bike, put a long stem on it, because what the long stem is going to do, it'll open up the reach if you're compact, but it'll also put your weight over the front wheel that now is farther out in front of the bike. And I've run into so many people who are like, oh, dude, I'm not riding over a 35 mil stem, bro. And I'm like, well, whatever. You're going to want to probably have a bike with a 68-degree head angle, and then you're all set.
Yeah.
So, we talk about it in the clinics, the wheel of influence. The front wheel is the wheel of influence, but it only has influence if there's weight on it. If there isn't any, it doesn't have any influence. So you turn, it pushes, you fall over. It's a pretty simple outcome.
It is. Yeah. And it's funny because not everybody, they want to go by look, but they want to go by what looks cool. And then they want to go sometimes by what's the most comfortable. And sometimes the most comfortable is not the best.
Stem height, stack height is the same thing. If you raise your handlebars, your weight moves back.
Hang on, do that again.
If you raise your handlebars,
hang on.
Okay, switch it.
Solo, you're going solo, bro.
If you raise your handlebars, your weight moves back. So sometimes if you lower them, your weight moves forward, and that's not your reach. That's just where your weight is, and I think if you can bias your weight to the front wheel, you're going to be better off.
Yeah. He also said he got to ride with Lopes once in Aliso. He's on another level. Yeah. To you, that guy's on another level, period.
Brian Lopes is legit.
That guy's an outlier.
I've had the pleasure of getting smashed in a race by that guy.
Yeah.
He's very, very good.
So we're going to talk about this one, and I think we're going to start to wrap it up. How much, if anything, can moto riding style be translated to MTB? I still find myself sticking my leg out on deep, rutted, or sandy burns, which not be correct. Your thoughts? I think that moto style is very translatable to MTB.
Yeah, foot out, flat out's a real thing.
It's funny because what I wanted to make the topic of this podcast, we'll call it, style, riding style, and can one attain style, or a style somewhat innate or a product of your background? So like in this particular example, I can within seconds tell you somebody who rides moto and rides well based on how they ride a mountain bike. Yep. And that makes me smile. Somebody who's a good moto rider that rides bikes, they have a style that's just legit.
Yeah, they're almost always front wheel heavy.
Yes, they carry over everything that should be carried over to a dirt bike. Now, people who ride dirt bikes that aren't good at riding dirt bikes usually aren't good at riding mountain bikes. And their style or lack thereof on a dirt bike transfers over to a mountain bike, if that makes sense. Yeah. Now, what I think you need to think about is, if what you're bringing over from the mountain bike or from the dirt bike to the mountain bike works, do it. But if it's not working, you got to find another way.
Yeah. So for me, I was not successful. My moto experience gave me a lot of benefit when I started seriously riding bicycles, but the bicycles have a lot more nuance to them. And what I found as I got serious on the bicycle was it was not good for me to ride motorcycles and ride bicycles because of how different they were. And that to me goes along the same lines as riding flat pedals and clipped in. It's different riding, and one doesn't benefit the other in my experience. And what I was finding was I would do things on the bike that the motorcycle required, but the bicycle didn't, and vice versa. And so that caused me to have bad outcomes in both. But a couple of things that were valuable were when you ride moto at a high level, you have become accustomed to reading data rapidly, taking in a lot of information quickly, and usually looking ahead because you have to. And those are things that translate great benefit on the bicycle.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Oh, this is a great one. Hang on, we're going to take a couple more. How do I adjust my bike for cold, wet riding conditions? Pretty easy, dude. I keep it hanging in the garage. Cold, wet, not going to ride. Gasnet says, just discovered your channel. I like that. Glad you're here. Vernacular is basically your language, how you speak,
words,
how you talk, your words. And
if you have a diverse vocabulary and you can utilize a vast array of words to very clearly describe what you're thinking or what you're trying to convey, that would be your vernacular, the words you use.
Yeah. And Dave, I apologize, dude. I didn't mean to make it sound like I was like you set us up to bash Lee. I don't think that was the case at all. And
he's been in the game a long time, and if people get benefit from the information he's providing, then I think that's awesome. That's great for them.
Yeah, I do think people get benefit, and Rob and I too were a little dismayed at a video that he did where he called some of our things out in a manner that I didn't think was very fitting or very constructive or very positive. But I get it, and part of it is everybody has to make a living and everybody has to make their way in this YouTube world, and you got to stand out somehow. And I get it. So it makes perfect sense. There was another one too. Yeah, Chris, this is a good one, dude. Consistently getting back out. Yeah, this is good. Tony might win this one. 22 goal, jump, drop, and make a downhill ride without dying.
Well, you haven't died yet. I'm assuming you've done some downhill rides.
Mark's
buddy.
here. We were just talking about you, Mark. There's 72 people here. If the 72 people in here don't know what the segment is or who Mark is, you need to get on YouTube.
Do some research,
and follow Mark. Mark, quite literally.
Mark is a pro. He's a consummate professional.
He's one of the most positive dudes on the planet. He's out of the San Diego area, and he's a COVID rider, and he just a rad dude, just about positivity and trying to give back to a community he's taken to love by all accounts. So he's a rad dude. Man, Mark, that's a really hard one, dude, because I had a lot of really good memories on the bike. One of them was being on your podcast, dude. Like I had a blast. Rob and I doing it together, hanging out in freaky Palm Springs at a Starbucks. It was
an adventure. Yeah, that was fun.
It was cool. Probably top of the list would be the Minority Mountain Bikers event that we did here in the summer. The way that came to be with Harry Hill and him coming out with his crew. It started with it was going to be about 6 guys, and it turned into over 30 black men from all over the country just descending upon Arkansas. A lot of them didn't know each other. And we all just hung out as bike riders. We did a clinic to try to get better. We rode around, we ate food, and it was just all people riding bikes. And so that one is definitely high on my list, just because I didn't expect for this platform to have me in a position where that would happen, where I'd be able to play a small role in something like that. So that was pretty rad. Another one that was kind of cool, and trust me, dude, there's a lot of cool moments for me because of bikes. we traveled all over, and we were in the Midwest. We were in Viroqua, Wisconsin. And we went to this tiny little campground, and we rolled in, and there was a bunch of cars, and they were having a concert, like a bluegrass concert. And we rode our bikes with some chairs and a cooler and just chilled there and ate. And Dex was playing, and Sarah and I were just hanging out, drinking a cider or something. And, there's a big group of like older kids kind of hanging out, and they kept looking our way. And I was looking behind me, like trying to think, what are these kids looking at? And the next day we were at a local coffee shop, and I got, I think, 3 or 4 messages. And apparently it was these kids. They're like, dude, did we see you at Sidey Hollow Campground last night? And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I said, yeah, we're hanging out at this coffee shop. It's really cool. And like 10 minutes later, they all come in, and they were just talking, and they said, man, can we get some pictures? And so we were hanging out, taking pictures, and they all left. And the owner of the coffee shop walked over, and she's like, hey, I don't mean to be rude, but who the hell are you? Like, we're all over there trying to figure out if we're supposed to know who you are, because random people are coming in taking pictures with you. And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to know who I am. I just ride bikes, and they ride bikes, so they know. So it was just cool to be that far away from home and just have somebody say, hey man, your channel's cool. We really dig your videos. Keep making them. So what about you, dude?
It wasn't 21 when we went to San Diego and rode.
Yeah. Noble,
was that 21?
It was the beginning. Yeah, I knew you were going to say this.
Yeah, so my best memory of 21, Rich and I went to ride Noble Canyon, and we were basically making a video, and deep into the trail, we came across this guy, and he says, oh my God. And he's like pointing. And so it was clear that he recognized, I thought, Rich, but he says, it's Rob Drew and the other guy.
Yeah.
It was the best.
That was classic, dude. That was a classic.
Great. It was like I paid him.
That seriously was one of the best ones ever. Yeah. So, a lot of good ones.
I think probably for me though, this year, the best thing that's come out of it has been Jen spending more time on the bike, and how much she's progressed on her new bike. The first bike I got her was a little too small.
Yeah.
I could tell, but she didn't know until I let her ride my new trail. And then it was very clear to her that the sizing was kind of a limiter.
Yeah.
And so she adopted that bike, and now on it, she has really, really progressed. And it's been awesome to see her enjoying the time on the bike.
And Sarah had a lot of fun riding with her. Hey, look at Miguel coming through with the $4 super sticker.
Boom. Thanks, buddy.
Miguel. I appreciate it.
There was a comment on here about features that.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
I want to go back to this because one of my favorite bike related memories happened yesterday, actually. So Sarah got an email from a guy named Jesse, and it was a long, long email, dude. And the dude was a pro baseball player. He's my age, like literally 2 months older than me, and got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And dude, just battling like a madman. And to get through it, dude, he found mountain biking. Like, he went through some gnarly chemo, and he'd be like a week on, week off. And he went out and started hiking. And he came across his family on mountain bikes. He's like, well, that looks way more fun than what I'm doing. Yeah. And he got on a bike, dude, and just fell in love with it. And he lives in Fargo, North Dakota. Oof. So, yeah, the weather's rough. The trails aren't the greatest, but came across the videos, dude. Loves the videos. Has learned a ton from the videos, and he's trying to get himself out to a clinic. And he's got some family. So anyways, he was traveling. He was heading down to Houston, and he was going to try to make the Houston clinic. Rained out. So we've been going back and forth, and he came through here, and the weather was horrible, and he couldn't ride. So he was all bummed out. And, we messaged a couple times, and he's like, hey, if you have time, let's get a coffee or something. And dude, it was just super hectic. We had a ton going on. And so we had a Zoom call coming up and some other things that Sarah and I had to talk about. And we drove to Airship. We pulled into Airship, and I looked at Sarah and I said, man, have you been to Onyx lately? Like, their new winter menu looks really legit. Like, I want to go there. So we back out of Airship. We drive over. We're in line at Onyx. And this big, tall dude standing in front of me, he looks over and he goes, hey, Rich. Hey, Sarah. I'm Jesse. And I was like, dude, no
So I
way.
thought you said you couldn't meet me.
Yeah. He's like, you liar. But
Dirty rotten.
we got to, he bought us coffee and we got to sit with him and just hear a little bit more about his story. And just a rad dude. Like, and I told him, dude, we never come here. We were going to another place. And I just thought, no, let's go to Onyx. And it's crazy how things like that happen. So that was really cool. And I think he's driving back to Fargo, but Jesse's a rad dude. And check this out,
Jesse,
dude.
you're welcome here in Phoenix anytime you want to come out.
Dude, he's coming to the first March Bentonville clinic when you will be here.
Ooh,
so he's pretty
double the
happy
fun.
about that.
He's going to get all the value.
He's going to get all the value. Okay. Seriously, we're ending with this.
Okay.
Maybe not. We're ending with one more. Okay. You saw this one. Do you have trail section or features that are not worth it? Oh, hell yeah.
I do.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a few around where Rob rides. That death double, whatever the hell you called it.
Yeah. That jump I haven't done again since I crashed and got hurt. And jumping down the waterfall.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch that Mo Awesome video where I crash doing that,
yeah,
I've never done it since.
Yeah.
That one it was such a great line, and I did it literally 1,000 times, but that one time I just screwed up.
Yeah, that's rough, dude.
Yeah.
I have man, I hate to add fuel to the fire, but there's a trail here called Masterpiece that I would ride almost every time I ride. I'd leave my house, I'd go down ravine, and I'd rip through Masterpiece, and I'd set my bike up almost as high as you possibly could get on that beautifully constructed wall and drop off. And it brought me so much joy. And they resurfaced it, and they use this stuff called Aquacrete, and I avoid it like the plague now. And I've tried multiple times to go back and I ride it, and it's just frightening, and it's just a bummer. But yeah, it's not worth it. And, it's funny because I think there are sections or places where it's not worth it. I just don't do it. But there are things that sometimes I'm fine, but then something's not right and I'm out. I'm not doing it. And I'm very okay with that. And dude, I did it in St. George. I climbed up on this stupid roll-in that from the bottom didn't look bad, but when I was on the top looking down, and it was gnarly, like I needed help to get my bike up, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to do it. And it was funny because Norm goes, wow, man, I'm impressed. Like if I was up there, I'd just go out of fear of looking like an idiot. And I said, dude, if you guys think I look like an idiot, that's fine.
I got no problem.
I'd rather look like an idiot with all my teeth than look like a hero
idiot.
knocked out laying on the ground.
Look like an idiot for my next ride.
Talk about this real quick. You talk about being front wheel heavy. Is it beneficial to set up the fork in such a way that it'll create more force as opposed to a softer spring? I think that being front wheel heavy is just more of an overarching thing and the way you ride. As far as your fork setup, I think its performance will dictate if you need to add in more volume spacers. Would you agree, Rob?
When I say front wheel heavy, that description is juxtaposed against people who typically ride too far in the back. And so it's really how you should be riding anyway. It's like normal. But if you typically ride in the back seat, then as soon as you move yourself forward in a more comfortable or a more appropriate position, you're gonna start to have better outcomes. And it may be that your setup has to be adjusted because you're not set up properly to start with.
Yeah, I think it's semantics here. Like some people could see front wheel heavy and take that as a negative thing. There wasn't a negative connotation to saying front wheel heavy. Think of it visually, not actually, I guess.
Yeah. So when we do the Ride Series clinics, what we talk about is the timing of events. If you're going to do a jump, the first thing to arrive at the jump is your front wheel. So your front wheel takes off first. You need to stay with it and let your back wheel do the same thing your front wheel got to do. And what'll happen is you'll move in an arc, and then your front wheel will come down to the ground first because it was the first one to take off. If it doesn't go that way, you've done something wrong.
Yeah. And that's part
and so you will basically always land front wheel heavy if you're doing it right. Front wheel first, I should say.
We have a
And
great
that's what I
question
describe as front
from
wheel heavy.
Danielle here. She says she's riding a 35 millimeter stem. I mean, Daniel. Sorry, Daniel. 35 millimeter stem on the Evo and a 50 on the SL. I don't know. It's one of those things where a 35 mil stem on an Evo is pretty dang short, in my opinion, my experience.
And so I would say, Daniel, you should probably slide that saddle forward and go to a 45 or a 50. The 50, I think, is appropriate on that bike because it's a very slack bike.
Yeah, and he's on a 3.
Yeah. So he could close. I guarantee his seat's not all the way forward.
Yeah. Well, and you can go. He's similar in height to me. I think we're very similar in height.
Well, and Daniel, I don't know if we've talked about this, but the problem is when you set up your cockpit with a short stem and the seat back, what you're failing to consider is where the pedals are. As soon as you get up out of the seat, your body shifts forward because the pedals are forward, and now the stem is short. If you put the saddle forward and put a longer stem on, when you get up out of the saddle onto the pedals, you still have some stability between your hands and your legs. You want an A with a wider base because it's going to be more stable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that sometimes it's hard. Goes back to earlier. I talked about getting caught in comfort. Like you're comfortable with what your setup is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's good, but you're comfortable in it. And so you try technique, when if you simply make a setup adjustment, it could be pretty good. Eric says, thanks for the super valuable content. He's new to real mountain biking. So glad to have us help. You're welcome, Eric. Seriously. To have as much of a curmudgeon as Rob may be sometimes about making videos, he loves doing this.
Captain Curmudgeon.
It's really cool. And I think we talked with Mark about this. It's an honor and it's a responsibility. Like seriously, to say, oh, we're going to go live. We're going to sit in front of our computer and have a conversation for an hour and 20 minutes after posting a video, and we're expecting 90 people to come on and watch. Dude, that's a pretty important thing. And I take that responsibility pretty seriously. And both ways, like it's a responsibility to provide insight to people and try to help them through this journey on the bike. And at the same time, we have to be aware of what we say has an impact. And sometimes that's tough. Like not everybody thinks about that. Like if you're in a position of influence, and you've said this many times, like, oh, wipe dog crap on your seat. It'll make you a better rider. Dude, you'll roll up somewhere and be like, man, what's that smell?
Right, who's got the dog poop on their seat?
Rob Drew said dog poo on my seat. So that's important. And, Jay talks about the valuable content. I like it. Like I appreciate being able to put content out and being in a position to help people. I love riding bikes. Rob loves riding bikes. Bikes have done amazing things for us. So if we can help other people enjoy their bike more, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say that's my mission statement. I want everybody to experience the joy that bikes have brought me. And the best way that I can help them do that is to show them how to progress safely without having an unfortunate injury that causes them to make a different choice.
Read this. Read it out loud.
Thanks for the entertainment tonight. 2:24 a.m. here. You and Rob give advice in a way that us hard learners can understand. My collarbones are still intact, but I give you two credit for that. Well,
2:24
I've
in
broken
the morning.
Tactician 666. I've broken mine each a couple of times. So I did the research for you. It's not cool. Don't bother with it. You could pass on that.
Yeah. Rafa on 2 wheels, planning to move to Bentonville in the list of potential cities. Experience in general, it's great. And Rob can attest to some of it. It's an amazing place. There's so many rad things about this place. It's like nowhere I've ever been. And for the majority of people, I think it's legit. But it's not for everybody. Like, could Rob live here and be happy? I don't think so. Just because he spent how long now riding in South Mountain? Like, Rob has years and years and years.
I really enjoy living in the desert. It's an awesome climate. I like how it looks, and the options that I have within 2 hours from home are pretty stellar.
Yeah,
something about the mountain part of mountain bike riding. Really important to me.
Touche. The list of things on the con side of Bentonville are very, very small. It's a small town. It's still a very small town. Your options for food are limited. Tornadoes. A lot of places are closed. Nah, you really don't have that. The only thing that you need to deal with is it gets hot and it gets humid. It's a small town. It can snow every once in a while, but no, it's great. Okay. Man, Rob just made best statement: ride without dying. Okay, that's going to be it. We're going to end it now because
it's over, Johnny.
I got to get to bed soon. 92 people, dude. I'm pumped about that, man.
It's awesome.
I know sometimes it's difficult wrangling you to do this. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to end it with Casey bringing in $9.99 super chat. We want to say thank you to Casey.
Now what would you pay? Wait, there's more.
Ask us, what is your go-to trail when everything's wet and you still want to get your tires in the air? If I want my tires in the air, I'll put my bike on my Feedback Sports bike stand.
It's national for me. Even in the pouring rain, it's fantastic.
Yeah, for Rob, it's the pouring rain. Man.
Well, you've got a bunch of paved stuff
we
where
do.
You are. You can ride.
Yeah, we do.
You go practice the choo-choo double-double thing.
The choo-choo double-double or no, Leopard's Loop. Leopard's Loop's pretty good, Casey. I'd say Leopard's because you can loop it over and over again. I dig it. Oh, look at this. Pat Hoffman coming in. Thank you, Pat. $10 super sticker. Pat seems like a legit dude. He's around a lot. I've been seeing him pop up. He's got a lot of great input. So I appreciate it. Again, we're going to try to do a weekly cadence with this if we can. Topics. We always have rough things that we want to talk about.
Tony Fernandez with a little peace out dumpers. I like it.
That's funny. We try to come up with topics as we can, and so we're always trying to get better. I know I say it every time, but we're trying. We've talked about doing a legitimate podcast. At some point, we may do that, but at the very least, I know we can do this. And this.
Well, and if anybody tuned in now has a question that we didn't get a chance to ask them, hit us up. Direct message on Instagram or Facebook
Instagram is
whatever.
Instagram is usually the best, and we're gonna shoot to do this again next week. Hey, Josh, $5 from Josh.
Awesome, thanks, Josh.
Thank you. And
let's do one to open the new year. That's what I say.
Yeah, we can definitely do one to open the new year. And I think what we need to do, and we'll talk. We could talk with Jared and Mark a little bit more on this, but I think we plan them a little bit more in advance, and we decide who we're going to give all the super chat money to.
Yeah.
So when we did it with Mark, I think it was the Bombers squad. I can't remember exactly who it was, but I would love to do that because I know there's a lot of groups that, it's not a whole lot, but man, it's definitely something if we can entice people to give a little bit more. And I'll do some more research with that. Like, I know there's a few people that are like on a road to recovery, who've had some crashes, some people that are fairly prominent in the community. And so I'd love to help those people. I know that the medical bills have to be mounting for some of them. So to be able to help them out with that would be legit. So yeah, we're definitely going to try to make it a little bit better, but I'm excited to have 87 people on here. We're going to get Blodgett on too. So I know I promised that last time. I've talked to him about it.
Check in with Micah too, because we could do a great talk about it.
Yeah. If we can get all of them on. And
maybe Foursquare.
I don't think we can do that. I think we can do 3 like this. And so I think we can throw another one up there. So, Lance came in. Lance Bird with the
Bird.
$4.99.
Boom. $4.99.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, I appreciate that. So we'll get it figured out. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and keep your eyes open on Instagram. Hopefully everybody saw this from there. I'll try to post it on YouTube as soon as possible, but follow at the Rob Drew, at the Rich Drew. We should change the next time where it's at
that. I'll change that.
Yeah, so they know what the gram handles are, because I think that's the easiest way.
Yeah.
It's past my bedtime. That's the easiest way to figure it out and keep everybody up to date. So yeah, I'm excited. I like the 7 common turning mistakes. If you didn't,
I thought the content was great. Just a little sticky for my taste. I told you.
Thank you.
But I'm not your audience, bro.
We have no, thank goodness. Tomorrow, I like the one tomorrow. It's long. It's almost 21 minutes talking about braking. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I think people will dig it, and that'll debut at 5. So that one's a little bit early tomorrow because of New Year's Eve. So hopefully everybody tunes back in then. If they don't, everybody have an amazing New Year. Stay safe.
Yeah, everybody be careful out there tomorrow night.
Positivity.
A lot of crazies on the road, so definitely try not to drive if you can avoid it. Be safe. Let's all reconvene in the new year.
Yes, we're going to do it again next week. All right. Peace out, Rob. Peace out, Dumpers.
Over and out.
Over and out. Peace out. Over and out. All right, hang on.